Is that Moe Factz? Moe Factz in the building. Who's he?
It's MoeFactz.com. MoeFactz. MoeFactz.com.
That's not his real name.
His name is Mo.
Is that Moe Factz on the line?
But it's not Factz. Is that his last name?
No.
Imagine if it was. It's like he was born for this. He's like the Dalai Lama.
Woozah. We represent to you the prolific and incomparable Mr. Moe Factz. Mr. Mo, what's up, man? Mr. Anonymous, what's up, bro? How you feel?
How's everybody doing tonight? Mic check, mic check. So this is the first episode of Lost Tapes. And what we're going to try to do here is fill everybody in on some of the things that I didn't get to cover on the episode of 65, Disco Biscuits, with me and Adam Curry. So this is an interactive newsletter, basically. So got us some good content for you tonight. Some of the things that we left on the cutting room floor. So give people a little time to get in here before we get started. Oh, welcome, Quentin Anderson. How you doing? Mr. Clown, TV Junkie, Jay, Ned, Natasha, as always, with the emojis and the heavy chat. Ned, Kevin Cooley. Let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Oh, how you doing, Preem Lee? So, episode 65, that would cover Bill Cosby and the connections that he had or possibly could have had. So we're going to get into that. So where we're going to pick up at is here. And this is an interview with Oprah and Camille Cosby. And this is, I found it very interesting, this conversation that we're having, because it seems from this conversation they know each other very well. So Oprah says, when I met you, I remember feeling I want some of that. Not so much to look like you, but to have the energy that you spoke to me of your womanness. Are you aware of your womanness? And so she goes on to tell her how her and Bill met at 19. They had 5 kids, and she dropped out of the school to be with Bill. And I guess it seems like Oprah was irked by this. She says, "What is it about you that didn't allow you to settle for being Mrs. Bill Cosby? Because there are a lot of women who would have been happy with that, with what that brings." So you can see Oprah, she admired Camille in one way, but maybe felt that in another way she was riding on Bill coattails, or women of that status was riding on their superstar husband's coattails. So I got some clips I want to get into. So let's do that right now. So let's stop sharing there. Let's get into some of the video, some of the clips. So this is an interview, and we're going to go back to the article, but when we play, I found this interview, but I couldn't squeeze it into the show. And what reason why this show came about, Lost Tapes, is because the previous 2 episodes we had, 63 and 64, went long. And to be honest, that should have been 3 episodes. But I tried to squeeze it into 2, and it just didn't work out. But I hate leaving parts of stories untold. So, you know that we're trying to put a show. We're trying to. Oh, all right, David Foss, it's cool. You can catch it on the replay. So, I didn't want to leave it on the. I didn't want to leave it on the cutting room floor. So, this gives me an opportunity where I can interact with you all every week. I plan to drop a show every other Wednesday and then do a Lost Tapes on the alternate Wednesday. So Wednesday, 8 o'clock, I'm going to be doing something every week. What happened this week is yesterday was my 14th wedding anniversary. So that was a no-go unless one of you all were going to let me sleep on y'all couch. So we're a day late, but not a dollar short. And let's get into this clip of Camille, and this is an interview she's having. I think it was HLN, if I'm not mistaken, Headline News. But let's go ahead and get into it.
And you wrote a letter to USA Today called "America Taught My Son's Killer to Hate Blacks." And you got a bit of pushback for that article at the time, but do you still feel that that's the case today, 23 years later, when you look at the George Floyds or Ahmaud Arbery's of today?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, the media at that time hated the fact that I wrote that article because I did highlight the history of racism in America. And that this man who came from the Ukraine learned to be a racist in America, because certainly there aren't very many black people in the Ukraine. And then
Sorry about that. So my sounds, I had the mic muted. Let me start over. So this caught my attention. Why would a man come from the Ukraine, learn to be racist, kill her son, not in an act of passion or fight or something like that, or not a crime of opportunity or robbery, he would be targeted as a racist crime, or what you would call a hate crime. So I found that very interesting. And even she said herself that the man learned to be racist in the Ukraine. So let's back it up a little bit and listen to her again in this clip.
America. And that this man, that I wrote that article because I did highlight the history of racism in America. And that this man who came from the Ukraine learned to be a racist in America, because certainly there aren't very many black people in the Ukraine. And then to repeatedly report that this was a highway robbery, which was never true. There wasn't any robbery involved in this. This man saw a black...
See, there was no robbery involved in it. He just targeted him on the side of the road. because his car malfunctioned. I just find it very strange. The sequence of occurrences, seems like a crime of opportunity, but not a robbery. But then the media went on to portray it as a robbery. So these are the kind of things that get my spidey senses tingling. Like, what's going on here? Let's let her finish up this clip, and we're gonna dig deeper into this.
Black man on the road dealing with a car that had malfunction, and he shot him. Period. And then when he was arrested, he wrote on the walls of his cell that this is a. So that was clearly racist. This man is clearly racist.
Shortly after your own.
So he goes on, and we see this all the time in these strange cases where the alleged perpetrator does some kind of graffiti on the prison wall. We saw it with Hernandez, the former tight end for the New England Patriots. We saw it with, I want to say Epstein. It was some kind of message left on there. So that's a good question, Preem. Why did Cosby car break down? And if you ever saw the interview, if you had a chance, I would say go watch the interview with what is his name? Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory said that, and I couldn't validate this. That's why I didn't include this. I didn't include this into the story because I couldn't verify it. But Dick Gregory says in the interview, and it's widely, you can find it easily on YouTube, that the car he had the automatic flat fix. It was a top of the line Mercedes. And Dick Gray goes on and says it's part of it while Cosby was trying to buy NBC. Well, I'd go with the facts, not the narrative. And I couldn't find anything that, verify, validate those claims, so I didn't add it, but I would just mention it here just as a point of reference. But I have a second part of that interview I want to get into now, where she drops some very interesting information. And this is a longer clip, so we're going to stop it along the way a couple of times.
In raising your voice to speak out on behalf of Black Lives Matter, are you concerned at all about the blowback from the Me Too movement and those who have been critical of you and feel that you're on the wrong side of history when it comes to that cause?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't care what they feel. Secondly, I'm going to reference another person who is a friend of our family, and he's dead now, deceased, the writer James Baldwin.
So let's go back. So in the interview, they jumped to build his case and the Me Too, because as I stated in the show, it seemed like Cosby was a high value target of the Me Too. And the reason why I tie Oprah into this is that, one second, let me stop that. Let me stop that now. Okay, the reason why I tie Oprah in is because Oprah, she did, I think it was the Golden Globes. She did this weird thing where she took the attention from Me Too and she moved it to Time's Up. And that was like the legal arm of Me Too. And it kind of took the steam out of the Me Too movement and also allowed her to direct the money and who they would investigate. So let's go, and with that being said, let's go back and listen to Camille point she make on Me Too.
In raising your voice to speak out on behalf of Black Lives Matter, are you concerned at all about the blowback from the Me Too movement and those who have been critical of you and feel that you're on the wrong side of history when it comes to that cause?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't care what they feel. Secondly, I'm going to reference another person who is a friend of our family, and he's dead now, deceased, the writer James Baldwin. And I'm going to just reference one line, which I think will answer your question, and I will expound on that. But ignorance, allied with power, is the most ferocious enemy justice can have.
And that's a true statement. Ignorance allied with power is very dangerous because people can be misled and misguided that way. But I'll let her continue.
Learn to add the word intentional. The Me Too movement and movements like them have intentional ignorance pertaining to the history of particular white women, not all white women, but particular white women who have, from the very beginning, pertaining to the enslavement of African people, accused black males of sexual assault without any proof whatsoever. No proof anywhere on the face of the earth. And by ignoring that history, they have put out a lie in itself, and that is because I'm female, I'm telling the truth. Well, history disproves that as well.
And that's part of what I was talking about on the show as well, of the narrative of black men being sexual predators. That was a lot of the causation of lynchings all the way up through 1980s, and even the rape cases that proceed even today, that somehow black men are sexual predators or have the propensity to be sexual predators. And she's speaking to this narrative and why it was a easy fit for Bill and his victims to be white women, and it plays into that, into that narrative. Now, like I said, two things could be true. One, he could have got railroaded by the justice system, but as well, he could have easily done the things that he was being accused of doing. So let's put that out front. But let's let Camille continue.
And gender has never, ever equated with truth. So they need to clean up their acts. And all of us as women who have not participated in anything nefarious, we know how women can lie. We know how they can do the same things that men do, that some men do, because there are good men and bad men. There are good women and bad women.
You have called your husband's...
So, yeah, so Camille is going off code here, because this flies in the face that every woman should be believed. Now, I'm a believer of every woman should be heard. Every person should be heard. If you make a claim, you should be heard, and taken seriously. But at the same time, it should have validity to it before you actually are believed. And without a reasonable doubt, if it's going into court. So she's flying into the face of everything that is the feminist code. And her husband's life is on the line. His freedom is on the line. So, of course, she would think this way. And let's just be 100, her legacy, because as I said before, with his TV wife, Claire Huxtable, Camille's legacy is tied to Bill's legacy. The same way Claire Huxtable's legacy was tied to Heathcliff Huxtable's legacy.
Accusers a mob of women and say that he was railroaded. What would be the motivation for dozens of women to come forward with similar accusations against your husband, accusing him of sexual assault? And also we have to be mindful that they weren't all white. I mean, there were several black women in those who came forward.
Yeah, just joining the group. But I cannot go into that because there are legal ramifications. But I can only say that there was never any proof, just a whole lot of allegations.
And I don't know if you'll want to respond, but to the critics who have accused you of victim shaming, what do you say? Because quite often in incidents of sexual assault or harassment, doctors and medical experts will say it's difficult to have proof unless you actually went to the hospital after.
I understand that, but still, among so many women who have made claims, they have not ever, none of them presented any proof. And I think that says a lot.
Once again, she's going against the feminist code by saying these things. And I think even his TV wife knew these things and with the claim she had made, but that's why the Boulay phone rang on her. And she had to clean up her narrative. So let's let Camille continue.
A lot.
want to lastly go back to, you've compared the treatment of your husband to the murder of Emmett Till, obviously the black teen who was murdered for allegedly whistling at a white woman, and that was later debunked as a false claim by the woman herself. What's the parallel?
And that's what Camille was alluding to, and that's the point I was talking about black men and the narrative that black men are sexual predators or have the we have the propensity, I think is the word, to be sexual predators.
Well,
the parallel is that the same age-old thing about particular white women making accusations against black men that are unproven. Emmett Till's outcome to mutilate his body in the way that it was just really so deeply horrendous. There's a lack of words for that kind of hatefulness. But see, years ago, I interviewed the survivors from the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots in 1921. And that was another case of a white female making a sexual assault claim against a black male, which we all know, if we know about the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots, and gave license to mobs of white people converging on a very...
And that's a great point. If you see the comment on the screen, it goes back to that horror film, Birth of a Nation. That's exactly right. Because that film showed black men as violent brutes that would do anything to get to white women. And that stirred, like I said, it stirred a whole nation to be accepting of the Ku Klux Klan as a necessary force to fight back against the narrative that black men, like I said, black men were predators. But let's let her finish. It's going to get good. This is where it gets good at, and this is where we're really about to go down the rabbit hole.
Independent, economically independent, educationally independent black community named Greenwood in Tulsa. And hundreds of people were killed. But these unproven allegations, it doesn't even fit in with laws in our country. You've got to prove stuff. My husband was under the scrutiny of several federal entities during the time of Nixon's.
Hold on. Let's back that up because it's very important. Now listen what she's going to say. Pay very close attention. What she says.
Black community named Greenwood in Tulsa. And hundreds of people were killed. But these unproven allegations, it doesn't even fit in with laws in our country. You've got to prove stuff. My husband was under the scrutiny of several federal entities during the time of Nixon's presidency. He was on that infamous Nixon's list.
Okay, so now we have Bill Cosby, who is on Nixon's list, infamous list. He's being surveilled, her claims, being surveilled by government agencies, and nobody picked up that he was raping women. Excuse me, you two, for using that word, but attacking, assaulting, sexually assaulting women. I find that very, very interesting. And this is not the first time she made this claim. Let's let her finish, and then we're going to go back to the article with Oprah.
For years, he was harassed by the Internal Revenue, by the FBI, and all that. If he had done all those things these women are claiming, certainly it would have come out then. And in this country, it is impossible for any black man, I don't care how much money he has, how popular it is, to get away with raping a white woman. That is just absolutely impossible.
So you boil this all down to racism. You feel that if your husband were not a black man, that these accusations would not have been made and he would not be in prison.
Oh, I don't know.
And look, the reporter, the interviewer, didn't even acknowledge what she said. Like, that's interesting. He was, you think would be a follow-up question like, oh, wow, he was investigated by Nixon? No, she just jumped straight to, oh no, so you're saying it's all about race. What Camille is saying, it doesn't make sense when you look at through the racial lens that this black man that's being surveilled by government agencies that's on Nixon's hit list would not be flagged or arrested or even pursued in any kind of way in that time. We're talking about the 1970s here. We're not talking about the 2000s. We're talking about the 1970s. Let's let them finish. Let me back it up a little bit and we'll let them finish.
Woman. That is just absolutely impossible.
So you boil this all down to racism. You feel that if your husband were not a black man, that these accusations would not have been made and he would not be in prison.
Oh, I don't know that because some white men have. I mean, like, there are some who have been sent to prison, but it's not the same situation as the history of particular white women with black men. We've seen them hanging from trees once they make those accusations.
All right, so we have that. Now let's go back to the article with Camille and Oprah. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see, so we don't give you an eye test. If you see here, why was Bill an enemy? Because he hold on, let's go right here. Oprah says, okay, she asked about the time of 1965. And this notice this is around the time when when Richard Nixon was courting Martin Luther King at the same time. So, and good friends with Martin Luther King Sr. All right, so let's go here. Oprah says to be the spokesman for blacks. Camille said that's right, and many other things that go along with that. Also, unbeknownst to us, when Richard Nixon became president, he had put Bill on his enemy list. Prior to the revelation of that, we were harassed. Our phones were tapped. Says it right. This is Camille talking to Oprah. Our phones were tapped. We had the FBI at our house and visiting at the studio. This is not making any sense. This is not making any sense. Press 1 if it doesn't make any sense to you. Well, let's do 2. Press 2 if it doesn't make any sense to you. That we have the FBI and government agencies, a man that's on the president hit list, and they can't find not one of these women to come forward. Does that sound right? Hold on, and Stephen Page. Let's see. Stephen Page made a good point. Let's add it up there. He said, Mo, like I said, there was blackmail associated with the Playboy Mansion, the FBI recording people who attended the club. Right. So I'm going to lay out what I think was going on here. This is just my speculation, and you'll see. I hate to lead the witnesses, but I think this was some kind of intel battle going on between the intelligence agencies. I'm thinking Bill was maybe CIA, and you'll see why. CIA agent, or not agent, but asset, along with Hugh Hefner and his cousin George Bush. And I said that in the show. So let's go. I'm gonna get to that claim. And it seems like the FBI had it out for Bill. So none of this is making sense. What's up, Tiger Auntie? Yeah, it's inconvenient truth. And right, Deep Impressions, yeah, for 30 years too. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Yeah, he was trying to buy NBC. And like I said, I only went with what I had facts for. And I found this to be very interesting. I hope you do as well. So she said they had their phones tapped. So none of these interactions were caught between Bill and the women. None of these women were interviewed at the studio. So Oprah goes on and says, why was Bill an enemy? And she said, because he had rejected a couple of Nixon's requests. So I'm sure Nixon was trying to court him. This is just me assuming right now. I'm assuming, yeah, cousins. I'm going to get there. It says because he had rejected a couple of Nixon's requests. That was all it was. So we know Nixon was courting Martin Luther King Jr., I think in the 64 election, and he didn't get it, and he lost that election to JFK because JFK had beat him to the punch and made good friends with MLK. Okay, see, and this is why we do this. Joy A said, I never knew about any of this. And this is why I'm doing this show, Lost Tapes. It's so much information. Y'all got to understand, when I do a show, when I prepare for a show, I go through so much source information. This is not pat myself on the back, but I make sure I bring nothing but facts to the table. This is Oprah.com. This is audio from a reputable news source. I'm not digging and cherry picking information. I go where the story leads me, and it's like it's almost injustice not to show some of this stuff I found, and I don't want to have a 10-hour show with me and Adam, and I don't want to recover the same thing twice on back-to-back episodes. So I think this interactive newsletter where we all can get together and talk about it, and I can get your feedback. Now we have the live chat. That's another element of this that we don't have with the show, of having feedback. This is the motivation for it. So hopefully you enjoy it. So she says, and we were enemies. And when that enemies list was released after Nixon resigned, we said, this is why. It was a horror during that time. And we were audited 4 times in 1 year. So you see they had the IRS, we had everything. Up their rear end. And yes, Judy S., it does help me when you hit the like button. And I just want to take a quick pause for the call and say this is a value for value production. I don't take any money from YouTube. I only use YouTube as a opportunity and a platform to share my material that I find. So if you go to mofundme.com or either mofactz.com, you can donate via PayPal or either Cash App, or if you have paper checks, there's a PO box on the donation page. But if you do nothing else, pay me with a like, pay me with a share, subscribe to the channel. As Judy S. says, the likes do help. Comment, please comment. Pay me that way if nothing else. And it's not me, it helps other people find the channel as well. So we see what's going on here. So now when I see this, I'm like, wow, like what's going on here? So somebody asked the question, they said, cousins. Let me show you. Hugh Hefner and has very interesting family members. Let's go. Here. CBS News. Bush, Kerry, and Hefner, odd cousins. CBS News. Like I said, this I don't use wonky. I mean, like I said, there's good information. You can get good leads, but I always like to use reputable, credible, and I use that very loosely with air quotes, credible news sources to say, what they say. I mean, what they use them for their information. And this is back during the 2004 election when this came out, and it was talking about how they were cousins. And it's funny how Kerry, Bush is cousins. Nobody really talks about it. Even Hugh Hefner made the mention of this. So yeah, it's very interesting that, they got descendants that go all the way back to the Mayflower and Puritans, and that's the WASP connection. But so we see that Hefner has very, familiar connections with the creator. I mean, I think he was the head of the CIA at one time, vice president, and then the president. And to be honest with you, I believe George Bush. Y'all are killing me. Tiger Auntie says, I'm sorry, y'all. I get a little, it's my ADD or ADHD flaring up. But I see the comments and I'm reading the story at the same time. But she said, if Bush is Hefner's cousin, doesn't that make Obama a bunny? And that's the point I was getting to, because you got to understand. George Bush Sr. is probably the most powerful president maybe in history, because you got to look. He had allegedly, he was running the White House during Reagan's years, because Reagan was mentally deteriorating, especially after the attempted assassination. That's 8 years. Then he had his 4 years, and then he had Clinton in his back pocket. So that's another 8 years. So let's do the math. 8 plus 8, 16 plus 4, 20. His son's 8 years, that's 28. And then he was running Obama. You see what I'm saying? That's like what? That's 36 years. I'm saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that he had influence over the White House. And the thing was, he had juice, because when he died, look how long the flag stayed at half staff when he passed away. Somebody said he was one of the New World Order top leaders. Right. And you see they're lifting that veil off of the New World Order right now in front of our eyes. That used to be a conspiracy theory. Now they're just opening it all the way up. So, okay, I'm trying to get this over by 10. So let's move along a little faster. So now what I want to do is, I want to cover this in 2 segments. One, just on the face value of it. And then 2, we're going to come back to the the intelligence agencies and the connections and all those things. So what Camille said, she laid out some things about race and the case and those kind of things. So I have this clip. I'm going to start with this clip from Judge Mathis first. Judge Greg Mathis of TV fame. And this is pre the Cosby trial and conviction. He's going to speak on how he feels like the trial didn't have any validity legally. Legally, we're not talking about the claims. We're just talking about through the legal system. So we're going to listen to him speak. And the reason why I want to do this is these black men know of the narrative of black men allegedly being sexual predators. So I'm going to let legal judges speak, starting with Judge Greg Mathis. Excuse me. Let's get into that.
Cosby, admitting to drugging women that he wanted to be intimate with.
10-year-old deposition.
Yeah.
2005.
Right.
It comes to surface. Yeah, I gave him. Yeah,
major blow to his image.
Oh my goodness.
So my question to you, Judge, is: do you think any of this will come into criminal court at any time? Like they said, there's one case that's not out of the statute of limitations. There's one case.
Yeah, and the case she's referencing is the case that he was charged with and convicted. So that's the case she's referencing.
There's one case.
Yeah, I hear them saying that perhaps there's one.
Right.
But no, I don't think that it'll result in any criminal prosecution. The case that they're referring to is 4 years, and I don't think there's enough current evidence that would stick, and I'm not sure that the statute of limitation has not already expired.
So that was everybody's thinking when they first heard the rumblings of Bill Cosby being charged. It was like, everybody was speaking about that he had testified in the deposition on the civil case, and he had cut a deal, and the deal was publicly announced. The deal was publicly announced as mentioned in the show. And if you haven't heard 65 Disco Biscuits, I suggest you after this show you go back and listen, and you'll be clued in on some of the things we're just going to speak about offhand
on that type of crime, unless they try and suggest that it was sexual assault. And I'm not so sure it was. I just don't know enough of the facts. One case, for example, the woman, and please forgive me, ma'am, if you're listening, but she stayed 2 days with the man, and I don't think she was out for 2 days. He may have he may have drugged her or engaged in drug, as he has admitted in his deposition on some instances, but whether it was sexual assault remains to be proven, and I'm just not sure.
So that's a judge speaking there, a TV judge, but the judge nonetheless. He had to go through the bar and, sit on the sit as a judge before he got the position as a TV judge. So that was his take. I have another clip from him. Let's get into that clip. This is the second clip with Judge Judge Greg Mathis.
Give a person something and they engage in intercourse as a result. Not always the case that it's sexual assault. Perhaps they woke up and
decided to stay.
Who knows? I give Mr. Cosby the benefit of the doubt. Mr. Cosby has given over $100 million. It doesn't excuse his behavior, but he.
Let's stop right there, because me being fair and balanced, objective. Shout out to the hater, Star, who is the objective hater, and you know what I'm saying, where I got my start. And you heard him in the intro clip. I had to use his voice. Bill had a lot of favor. Bill shelled out a lot of money. So he, people spoke favorable of him, such as like John Sally, as you heard in the show. And he helped people. I mean, you can't say he didn't, but that doesn't, like Judge Joe, I keep saying Judge Joe Brown, but Judge Mathis says that doesn't absolve him of being scrutinized in this case. And like I said, all potential victims should be heard, not believed. So let's go back, listen to what he says again.
Over $100 million. It doesn't excuse his behavior, but he has given over $100 million to black colleges and black causes. In fact, there's no other black person in the history of the planet, except for perhaps Michael Jackson, whom have given that much money to educate our young people. Yeah. So I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. I think that, yes, he made that settlement. Perhaps he didn't want to go to court. He did admit some of the things in the deposition.
That was a big but. We being objective, Judy S. That was a big but. But at the same time, are we talking about criminal? Or are we talking about in the court of public opinion? Like I said, we could always say two things can be true, which I believe. There was a lot of smoke there. And what I believe you're gonna see is even wilder than what the what the narrative is. But like I said, we gotta take stuff at face value. Somebody said, who is the guy talking? This is Judge Mathis, Judge Greg Mathis. Let's continue.
Said that all of it was voluntary. I don't know.
So you don't think that do you think it's fair that he's being stripped of so many different things now? Amazon, a lot of the celebrities now are distancing themselves from him. Do you think all of this is fair, being that it hasn't been proven?
Yeah, see, I'm a lawyer and a judge. I have to believe in due process.
Okay.
And I have to believe that the facts must be proven.
That's my point. If we're talking about in the court system, two things can be true. And I have to keep stressing that. In the court system, you have to have due process. And if he was given a deal, the court justice system has to honor the deal. Now, that doesn't mean he cannot be a creep and a predator. We're not saying that. But the court system, because my issue is if his rights can be violated, any of our rights can be violated. So that we want to be cognizant of that and make sure everybody gets a fair date in court. Let him finish up.
and his admissions has excluded any admission to involuntary engagement in sexual activity. He did say, I give it to women. And
consensual?
Yes, but he continues to claim it's consensual. And so until proven otherwise, I can't conclude that it wasn't. And I know some folks are going to be mad at me, but I'm a lawyer and a judge, and that's how I must look at it. Yes, you.
And that's all we want to happen is for a judge speaking. That's why I use a judge to speak from the aspect of due process and due process only. With that said, you still had to go back and say, why didn't the FBI find anything? Or did they and they just didn't say anything? And we're gonna get there. We're working there. I'm gonna move a little faster because we're already 45 minutes in. And I got a few more clips to go. All right, so now with that said, this is post-trial, reversal of the case and Bill Cosby being released. And this is Rashad Richey. And I'm going to say this. This guy is propped up by TYT. That's the Young Turks. And they were one of the big pushers of Me Too and also Bill Cosby and of the Hannibal Buress tape. So I find it interesting the take he has on it, and I just want you to listen to his tone as he speaks about Bill Cosby. And this guy is always talking about Karens and race-related cop shootings, and his whole channel, like I said, he's propped up. And let me just take a quick aside. I've noticed these black men being propped up by big-time YouTube channels and being sold as organic, or there's a term in the YouTube circles, the new black media. And what they're trying to do is flood the space with these propped up people with their talking points to tap in and steer the narrative for political purposes. So let's listen to Mr. Richey and his take on Bill Cosby.
Bad. And I'm sure some folks will disagree with me. I said this years ago when all of these accusations came up, when the victims came out, when they spoke about it, their credibility on the line. I've interviewed 2 of Cosby victims on my radio program. I said this back in 2019, and I stand by what I said. Bill Cosby is the kind of rapist that other rapists don't want to be like. He's a serial rapist. That's what he is.
And this is him after him being released. Notice he's not using the word alleged, accused, none of that. And notice the picture they use. I want y'all to pay it. See, this is another aspect that you can't get from the podcast. Look at the picture they use of Bill Cosby and how he's allegedly ogling this woman. You see what I'm saying? I want y'all to pay attention. Is that Ronnie? Oh, no, it's Ronnie. How you doing? I thought that was Ronnie from the Star Show. But yeah, they said, let me see what they said. There are 3 black YouTube channels and then never seem to disagree. Okay, so let's let Mr. Richey finish. But listen to his tone. And he sounds like somebody. I just can't put my name. He's in the milieu of somebody else. I just can't put my finger on who he sounds like. Somebody help me out in the chat if you catch that.
That's what I believe. Now, did the criminal justice system expand itself in order to prosecute Bill Cosby? Yes. I said this on record 2 years ago as well. You could check my resume.
Notice what the word he said, did it expand itself? Now, this is a guy that goes on and on and on about black people being, the criminal justice system being rigged against black people. But now he jumps through hoops not to speak the truth. So I just find it very interesting. Oh, is it Roland Martin? It's not Roland. They're in the same milieu as well. Roland Martin. Yeah, that's a good one. But it's somebody else he sounds like. I just can't put my finger on it. Oh, that's it. Tavis Smiley. He does sound like. So he sounds like a blend of Tavis Smiley and Roland Martin. But notice he says the justice system expands itself. All right, let's pick up from there.
Yes. I said this on record 2 years ago as well. You can check my resume. I said that if he lives long enough, this case will be overturned on an appeal simply because there was a non-prosecution agreement when he did that deposition. But I'm not focused on the deposition.
See, you should be. If we're talking about justice, if we're talking about due process, if we're talking about fairness, you should be. And this is that line they blur, where it's 1 minute they're reporting and next minute they're doing op-eds, opinion pieces, and they go back and forth. If we're talking about due process, the man should be free. If you can have your opinion, whatever your opinion is, that's your opinion. But you can't say, oh, they expanded, quote unquote, expanded themselves. But see, you got to understand, you see that TYT in the corner down there in the bottom right-hand corner? That's who has their hand up his backside puppeting him. Because all he does, and I find this, I'm going to be very honest with you about him. I find this man to be very disgusting. Very disgusting. Because he doesn't call balls and strikes. He's a political operative is what he is. And what Kwame Brown would call, he's part of the go along to get along gang. And I'm calling him out right now. I've been keeping my eye on him. The whole time. And it's like, if the left-hand side is doing something wrong, he soft shoes it. But if the right-hand side is doing something wrong, he amplifies it. We need people that are objective. But you can't be objective with the young turds. The young Turks. That was a slip. But valid. Let's let him finish.
I'm focused on the fact that the deposition proved and created the atmosphere and the evidence necessary to say this man actually did commit rape. I believe Bill Cosby committed rape. And because of that, I'm not losing sleep over the fact that he was prosecuted on a technicality.
All right, so that's his first clip. Now let's get into his second clip. And I'm not going to do too much of this guy because it's just, they think they could put somebody in a nice suit with a nice background in the studio and the people are going to vibe with them. And that's not the case. The people pick who they want. You see what I'm saying? They got all them high dollar, high fancy studios, nice suits, nice rim glasses. But if you don't bring the facts, you ain't doing your job right. Let's listen to part 2 of this clip.
The people, powerful people, who gave me a call and said, Doc, we need you to back off of Bill Cosby. He's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
What I tell y'all about that Boulay phone? What did I tell y'all about that Boulay phone? See? His Boulay phone rang. He admitted to it. When I say these things, I'm very serious. I say them jokingly because one thing I try not to do is be a doomer and get people all doomed out because we gotta live everyday life. So I say things in jest, gallows humor, that kind of thing. But I'm very serious when I say things. I'm very serious. But listen how he says the Boulay phone rings.
There were many people, powerful people, who gave me a call and said, Doc, we need you to back off of Bill Cosby. He's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And I said, first of all, we don't say that about unarmed black people who are killed by the police. We don't say those cops are innocent until proven guilty.
You should. You should. That's the problem. And that's why people think they discredit you. Everybody in America is innocent until proven guilty. They can have tape. They can have whatever else. They can have tape, fingerprints, blueprints, how you going to do the crime, everything else. When you walk into that court, and the reason why I stress this is that's what I want when I walk into a court. I want to be innocent till proven guilty without a reasonable doubt. And this is why people are not taken seriously. Yeah, that Boulay phone rang. You know what I'm saying? That thing is serious. I mean, y'all think I be joking, but y'all listen to what he say. All right, let's let him finish.
We are the court of public opinion. So the standard of reasonable doubt does not.
Hold on. Are you the court of public opinion, or are you the court? Are you going by the legal system? And that's why I said they're renaming justice. They are renaming justice. Justice used to be fairness by the letter of the law. Now it's mob justice. What we feel is right at the time. And that's a very dangerous idea. And that's why I push back against it. I want everybody to have the same opportunity when they walk into a courtroom. Let's go.
Not apply here. The standard of common sense does. And in my opinion, Bill Cosby committed rape. He's gotten away with it. He served a couple of years in prison, and that's the narrative. Yeah, and here's the thing, man. We're talking about rape, brother. We're not talking about you made a mistake. You got.
See, and this is what they do. They try to sound like they down. Yeah, brother. Yeah, I'm talking about rape, brother. I got this nice suit on, brother, and this nice tie on, brother. So you listen to me, brother. You know, brother. No. Nah, I'm telling you. We calling these people out. Call balls and strikes. Show your facts. Show your proof. Nah, we ain't doing that. And that's why I said we got to be careful about, especially on the YouTube circles. Maybe some people are not from YouTubia, as some people call it. But they prop up, and you're gonna see this is gonna be a sub narrative for this show. But let's keep going, because I'm already an hour in.
Into an argument, you had a bad night.
Right. Hold on. I got to address it. Boy, y'all on fire tonight. Primordial Soup said he wants to be a preacher. No, he is a preacher. And this is what I said this to my man E-Class. I don't know if he's watching out. Shout outs to E-Class. That's the coach. I call him the coach. That's my confidant, my how do you say it? Conciliary. You know, me and him always chop things up. You know what I'm saying? He gives me a great sounding board for ideas. I couldn't do this without him. I digress. But YouTube is the new church. And the same way Margaret Sanger said, go get the preachers. That's why everything is thrown with Reverend in front of it. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend T.D. Jakes, Reverend whoever. Even Tyler Perry, he moonlights as a reverend. You see what I'm saying? That's what they do. So and he has the preacher's cadence. But I'll let him finish.
We're talking about rape, and we're talking about consistent rape. There's no way that we can defend anything like that. And I've heard people say, Ben, they believe Bill Cosby raped these women or raped some of these women. But at the same time, they will say that Bill Cosby should not face any criminal penalty because of one technicality or another.
He shouldn't by the court of the law. And James Watt says, and then I'm going to get to your question, James Watt. You said, why is the Cosby story special? I'm lost. Because it's special because it goes to show how your legal protections can be eroded for mob justice. And especially in these times, I don't know if you caught the last show, what was it, Soda Lemon? There's a running theme between these shows. We want justice by the law, not mob justice, not ones that can say, hey, well, your probation stipulates that you take the Vaseline. That's why it's dangerous. And that's why I'm saying covering this story. Now there's a esoteric and an exoteric meaning to all stories, and we're going to look at both sides of it. But that's why it's important, because we're slowly seeing things, our rights being eroded away. Because it's the right thing, quote unquote, the right thing to do, not the just thing to do by the law. And I know I sound like a broken record, but that's why, James Watt, this is important. It's not about Bill Cosby. It's really not. And I'm going to show that it's two levels of justice, quote unquote, even in our justice system, there's two levels. And I'll get to that point shortly.
Let me say this about another narrative, a conspiracy theory that was floated about Bill Cosby. I need to speak directly to it. There were people who said Bill Cosby was being prosecuted or being accused because of a massive conspiracy to take down a powerful black man who was.
Hold on. His wife said that, not people. We just heard Camille say that. And we just saw that he's been investigated by the FBI since Nixon. So, I mean, not allegedly, but let's let him finish saying what he's saying. But I just want to point that out. Not people. His wife said this. His co-host, his television wife said this. Many other credible people said this. And like I said, two things could be true.
To take down a powerful black man who was up. First of all, Bill Cosby ain't been up in 40 years, okay?
He said Bill Cosby ain't been up in 40 years. What is it, 2020? 2021? 40 years ago in 1981. What are you talking about? See, these people like this are very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. What are you talking about? We just heard, if you listen to 65 Disco Biscuits with me and Adam Curry, we heard D.L. Hughley say how powerful Bill was. Come on now. So don't do that. Don't see, you being disingenuous, and that's why you don't have any validity, because you try to weave narratives.
There were many people, powerful people, who gave me a call and said, Doc, we need you to back off of Bill Cosby.
Hold on, excuse me.
Because of a massive conspiracy to take down a powerful black man who was up. First of all, Bill Cosby ain't been up in 40 years.
So that's crazy. That's crazy. I appreciate that. He said Disco Biscuit is fire. I appreciate it. And if y'all haven't listened, please go listen. And if you did, let me say this. If you did listen, and you do listen on podcast platforms, still come over to the YouTube channel. Hit the like button, leave a message. Leave a message or comment, because what that does, that stimulates the algorithm that gets us suggested to more people, and it gets the momentum going. So even if you watch it somewhere else, please come over, leave a comment, leave a like, and like I said, that gets the information to more people. And that's the same thing. I never heard them until the TYT propped them up. Let's keep going, because we got an hour in. We got to get to the good. We ain't even got to the good stuff yet. This ain't even the juicy stuff. Let's see. Where we at? While we looking, I'd like to remind people this is a value for value production. I don't take money from YouTube. So please at least pay me with a like and a share and a comment if you feel so compelled. So now we got to go back to another propped up YouTube face, being Mark Lamont Hill. And this quote unquote black news channel came out everywhere. But Mark Lamont Hill met his match this day with Judge Joe Brown.
Once again, about the case of Bill Cosby. As you know, he was released to most people's surprise yesterday, walking out of a Pennsylvania state prison because of a very interesting development in his case. And yesterday, many celebrities chimed in on social media. One of TV's most well-known judges, Judge Joe Brown, was one of those people who called out the way that mainstream media had been covering the story. Hours ago, he tweeted, and to be clear, much of this was in response to something I wrote, but he said, anyone who was knowledgeable of American law would have expected and predicted the outcome of the Cosby appeal.
And we knew that. We heard that from Judge Greg Mathis pre the trial, pre the charge, pre everything. It should have never went down like this. Now we have another judge. Now people will say these two are TV judges. But what I'm using is the fact that even TV judges say by the letter of the law, this thing should never happen. And that's a good question, Anthony. Why did it take so long for Cosby lawyers to bring the info to the public? Why was this even a trial? I don't know. Let's go.
Mainstream media in Hollywood incite public disorder by lying to the people about the law and encouraging mob rule. Hollywood reacts to Bill Cosby release with shock. Here to discuss his recent comments, joining me now is Judge Joe Brown. Judge, thank you for joining me. Why do you say that mainstream media encourages mob rule?
I've talked to 43 lawyers around the country, 17 judges, and I haven't found one that was shocked by the verdict. Most saw the same thing that I did from day one. This never should have gone to trial. It's a travesty. It's a violation of due process and American law. It is part of this mess that mainstream media is trying to feed into the heads of the citizenry and poison them by saying that their emotions and their feelings are supposed to have paramountcy over what happens within the law. That's not the way it goes.
All right, so that's the first clip from Judge Joe Brown. Now let's listen to the second clip from Judge Joe Brown. And we're going to have to pick up the speed here because I got a few more clips to get through. It's about to get interesting.
The very thing that got him ultimately, the thing that ultimately got him locked up. And those depositions, and he's talking about the various women he had sex with giving them alcohol in pills, whether it's Quaaludes or Benadryl. If you look at the dozens of women who come forward and accuse him, is there room to say, look, Bill Cosby can come home because the prosecutor was...
Once again, they took the deposition. They took what he said. We heard verbatim what he said in the deposition on 65. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it. But they took that, what he said in the deposition, what did he say? If you're a good reporter, you should have the transcripts up there. You got that nice suit on, you got that nice backdrop, you know what I'm saying? You got the fresh haircut, the same as Richie. Where the facts, though? Where are the facts? You see what I'm saying? They get up here and just pontificate on feelings. And that's why they're not taken seriously. But sadly, and I don't know if they're bots or not, but they're easily misled, and they're easily misleading people with the bells and whistles, with the nice suits and the fancy backdrops.
Wrong, but Bill Cosby also has to be accountable for what he represents and for acts of and for predator-like behavior.
What about these women being accountable for their own behavior? They were groupies. Well, sex, drugs, rock and roll, sex.
I wouldn't call them groupies, but Judge did. I think it's something deeper than groupies, but we're going to get there.
Drugs, rap, sex, drugs, baseball, football, basketball, movies, television. See.
But right now I'm talking about Bill Cosby. I'm saying
we forgot what that term meant. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. The bimbos come to the party, they hang out, they get drunk, they snort lines of blow, and they have a good time. They use the hall closets to give head, the bathrooms to get down.
Judge has no chill. Judge Joe Brown warning. Judge Joe Brown warning. He has no chill. You when you get to be an old man like this, some old men, not all, I don't want to, bruh, some old men, when they get to a certain point, they have no chill. It's like, whatever I think, there's no filter. It comes right out. I wonder if I'm going to be like that when I get old. I wonder.
And you go in to get your coat off of the bed, and they're laying on top of it doing somebody. See, that's what that's about. So,
yeah, but Judge, it has to be consensual, though.
30, 40, 50 years after something was in big time style. When this stuff started out, the sexual revolution was going on. And a lot of women got into it deeply.
Judge didn't miss no words, but at the same time, that was the vibe back then. You heard it when they talked about the Quaaludes. So let's see which way we're gonna go. We got a little bit. I'm trying to keep y'all. I'm not trying to keep y'all past 10 o'clock. I know some of y'all got to go to work tomorrow. Even though it's Friday, we might kick it a little later than expected. But since it's the initial episode of Lost Tapes, but I'm just gonna put it out there. I think a lot of these women, the Playboy Mansion, that Bill was tied to, and let me just share this right quick. One of the women that Bill was accused of, let me just go ahead and share this right quick. This is the Daily News. LAPD will search Playboy Mansion over Cosby alleged R-word of 15-year-old as Hugh Hefner distanced himself from the former best buddy Bill. Now, how is it Hugh Hefner can distance himself when he's been accused of the same thing as Bill Cosby? And then the crimes allegedly happened at his residence. Please tell me how that works. Let's read the bullets here. Bullet 1. Hugh Hefner has issued a statement on the recent wave of I gotta say R because we're on YouTube. R allegations against his best friend, Bill Cosby. Bullet 2. I will never tolerate this kind of behavior regardless of who was involved, said Hefner. Hefner, you have been accused of the same things Bill was accused of. You were accused of giving women quaaludes yourself. Don't believe me? Go listen to 65. I have former Playboy Bunny saying this. Bullet 3. Former Playboy Bunny PJ Mastins said Bill Cosby attacked her in the 1970s and also claimed many more bunnies claim to have suffered same experience. Now, why is it that nobody, when they were interviewing, tapping his phone, all of this, none of this just came up? Very interesting. Very interesting. But Hugh Hefner has been allowed to distance himself, and the media allowed him to distance himself. Imagine that. Imagine if the shoe was on the other foot and it was said, Hugh Hefner accused of blah, 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 and Bill Cosby distanced himself. That's why I said it's a double. Yeah, Judy S. Yeah. Best friends. You see it? Hold on. It's gonna get deeper. She says she was prompted to speak out at the Judith Huth, that's a funny name, Huth, claims Cosby R'd her at the Playboy Mansion when she was 15 in 1974. Hold on. Now, why is it that the LAPD is searching the mansion for a crime? See, these are headlines. These are only for headlines. What are you going to find from 1974? Eve said, where can we support the platform? Oh, you can go, let me take a pause for calls here. Eve, you can go to MoeFactz.com or MoeFundMe, MoeFundMe.com, or either Moe Factz, MoeFactz.com. And you can support me via PayPal, Cash App, or either paper check. Appreciate that, Jay. Here it is. I appreciate that. But now let's get back to it. Got to pause for the producers. Two other former Playboy bunnies, Victoria Valentino and Carla Ferrigno. I'm the consonant, stupid boy. Says Cosby attacked them as well. So we got all these people coming out after the fact and not saying he didn't do it. But look, Bill, y'all see it? He got the mom jeans on, chilling. You know what I'm saying? Got the captain hat on. That's the captain. Farino, thank you, Roberts. Look, Bill, him chilling. Look, there go the Red Queen right there. And see, that's why I said all of this, to me, is a setup. All of this is a setup because her, Gloria Allred, a.k.a. the Red Queen, is working with the victims, but her daughter, Lisa Bloom, is working with Harvey Weinstein, giving him advice. Tell me how that works. Please tell me how that works. We're going to get to some good stuff. Let me jump on down here right quick. So that's that. So one of the most famous cases that nobody talks about is and we brought up in the show, but we didn't get into it, this is another story from Daily Mail, and we're going to go back to that story as well. Exclusive, passed around by Bill Cosby, Hugh Hefner, and dozens of other Hollywood honchos. This is the Playboy Playmate of the month who felt so used and abused by the most powerful leading men, she took a gun and shot herself in the head. And nothing was looked into it. Let's get into the story here. This is the deceased right here. Let's go on down. This is Bill again with Hugh Hefner. Let's go on down to the story. Let's go down. Let's go on down. It was Palm Sunday, and she came to tell me she was going to kill herself. Melanie Myers, Paige Young's friend and neighbor. Now check this out. She said, in a scene reminiscent of a 1970 B movie, the model's lifeless body was discovered. Hold on, let me go back up. Where was it at? Hold on. All right, here we go. The full extent of it on how Cosby contributed to the younger starlet's demise, but may never be known. Now they're gonna try to pin all of this on. Oh, you sent it to Moe Factz? That's fine. I don't know if there's a Moe Factz or not, but hopefully you get it back. Let's see. But let's see. So they try to pin her demise on Cosby, but then they said they don't know what extent he had played in it. It said, but what claimed clear is that she would later blame him specifically and a host of other Hollywood stars for her fragile state of mind. I'm gonna blame MK Ultra, but we're gonna get there. Young was found dead April 7th, 1974 in West Hollywood apartment in a scene reminiscent of 1970 B movie model's lifeless body was discovered lying in a pool of in a blood-soaked American flag on a double bed. Come on now. She laid out a whole scene. Let me get to where the scene was. It says Paige had the whole thing planned out down to the last detail. She said it was Palm Sunday, and she came to tell me that she was going to kill herself. She stayed in the back of the house of the duplex. Stayed in the back of the house of the duplex where we lived, and I was at the bathroom window. She comes to the window and calls out to me, I want to show you something. I was like, what are you up to now, Paige? I couldn't be bothered with any more of her drama. It goes on to say, but she was like, no, you got to come see it. So I go to the apartment, and she gives me a guided tour of her suicide scene in the bedroom. Myers said that what she found still haunts her to this day. Now it's going down. And we could clearly see, I'm just saying, just off of looking, she looks very disturbed. Respectfully, I say that respectfully. She said it was chilling. Here it goes right here. There was a large American flag draped across her bed, and there was a pentagram laid out on the wooden floor. The pentagram is a shape of a 5-pointed star drawn with 5 straight strokes and was used in ancient times as a Christian symbol for the 5 wounds of Christ. Hold on now. Wait a minute. Since when? I'm going to say it like this. What is the most popular reference to the pentagram? It's satanic worship. Daily Mail goes out on this far. They know what they're trying to obfuscate. No, it don't work like that. Exactly. All right. So she says, I remember her showing me around. It was because it was somehow important, but I didn't know what it meant. What you mean she didn't know what it meant? She said she was going to kill herself. But it was the bedroom wall that shocked Myers the most. It was covered floor to ceiling with photos of Hugh Hefner, she said. Hold on now. Whoa. Now they try to pin this on Bill and say they didn't know what extent he played into it. But she got from floor to wall pictures of Hugh Hefner. I'm gonna let that breathe for a minute. She had floor to wall pictures of Hugh Hefner. But they blame me on Bill Cosby. And like I said, I'm not I think, let me just tell you what I think. Now, I gave you the facts. Now let me tell you what I think. I think Bill, I think Hugh Hefner, and they would say this, and I seen somewhere in one of these articles that I read, they was like, Hugh Hefner wouldn't let the girls mess with the common guys at the Playboy Mansion. But if you were a key holder, their words, let me see if it's in here. Hold on, let me see. Let me find that. Let me do a quick search. Here it is right here. But she added, she says, Playboy bunnies would get fired for giving their phone number out to customers. But she added there were certain key holders who were allowed to date. They were Hef's friends, the big celebrities who were in his intimate circle, and of course, Bill Cosby will have fit into that. Now, where have we heard that word key holders before? That's a term used in MK Ultra when you have somebody's keys. You picking up what I'm putting down yet? That's why I said there's two things that could be true. Bill could be innocent through the court, but at the same time be guilty of something far more sinister than even what people are accusing him of. But nobody does the digging and looks into the cases. They just go off a media narrative. But as I said, she has Florida wall pictures of Hugh Hefner, but they said, I don't know what Cosby had to do with it. Come on now. Let's go back to the murder scene. Hold on. Let me go back to the murder scene. Hold on. Let me go back to the murder scene. It was suicide scene. David Jones said, sounds about right to me. And yeah, we're gonna go a little bit deeper than we go on the show on the theorem and quality theorem and worthy details. So it said there were news clippings, magazine articles, everything you could think of written across it was something like, Hugh Hefner is the devil. Her words. Hugh Hefner is the devil. The whole wall was a shrine saying, I hate Hugh Hefner. The crux of her anger was against him. Now, they just said in the beginning, early in the article, they didn't know it was Bill Cosby and a host of others. But it seemed like her beef was with Hugh Hefner. Now, with that said, and you can go and read some more into this. Now, let's go back to this article. Oh, no. Let's go to some clips because some people I don't want to take for granted what people think what MK Ultra is. Let's go into, where we at? Man, time's flying. Okay, let's go here. America's War on Drugs, CIA Project, MK Ultra. Let's play this one.
2 American spies have just arrived at Sandoz Laboratories, one of the world's leading pharmaceutical factories. The mission, corner the market on the world's supply of a powerful new psychoactive drug.
The CIA was scared stiff the KGB was going to get all this LSD and come over and start dosing people. So
LSD.
They bought every drop of LSD in existence at that point.
The CIA has just authorized the purchase of 10 kilograms of pure LSD-25, enough to dose more than half the population of the United States.
They gave it to George.
Half the population. Oh, what's up? Hey, 828 Spindale in the building. Hey, what's up, Bobby?
White and let George start dosing people.
George Hunter White, a larger-than-life undercover federal narcotics agent. Unbeknownst to his supervisors, White also works for the CIA. His job, to conduct experiments for an operation called Midnight Climax.
George had a CIA safe house stocked with booze. George would sit behind this one-way mirror, drinking martinis, sitting on a portable toilet. If he had to take a leak, he didn't want to get up and leave.
White pays prostitutes to lure their clients to the agency's safe house.
That's Don't that sound like the Playboy Mansion? Is the Playboy Mansion America's whorehouse an actual CIA safe house where they would bring people in, celebrities in that they want to get information out of? Now, I'm asking. I'm just asking. Let's go.
Hookers who would bring these suckers back to the apartment and dose them with pure LSD 25.
This is where I have my effect. In the mind.
This is lysergic acid diethylamide, better known as acid. The powerful drug was first synthesized in 1938 in Switzerland. With a dose of mere micrograms, the mind becomes confused. Perception is distorted. Personal identity is called into question. The results can be euphoric bliss or deadly panic.
Okay, that's all I want to play. Sorry about that, Davey. If the clip's a little low, I mean, I get the I get the quality that I can. I'll work on the volume to normalize it next time. But just to fill in what we've heard here is they bought up all the LSD, right? They bought up all the LSD, and they would drug people in a safe house to ply them for information, give them LSD to ply them for information. Sounds very similar to what could be happening at the Playboy Mansion. And maybe it was ran via the cousin, George Bush Sr., by his other cousin, Hugh Hefner. Now, is that a Space Jam reach? Y'all let me know. And maybe that's why when they were, yeah, I'm sorry about that, Chief. I saw that. But maybe that's why when the FBI was tapping his phones, intelligence agencies couldn't tell on other intelligence agencies. See, I wasn't saying that they didn't hear anything. I said they didn't report it. The same way when the cops went to this murder scene, they just swept it up under the rug like, oh, nothing to see here. What's up, Dre? How you doing? They just swept it up under the rug. None of this. Could you imagine if they went to a place and saw Bill Cosby's pictures on the wall of a suicide victim saying Bill Cosby's the devil or any other person? They would definitely investigate that person. But no, he was a far bigger asset. When I say he, I'm speaking of Hugh Hefner. And we saw his connection with Kinsey and the sexual revolution. He had a role to play. And with that role being said, let me show you what his role was. Where we at? Okay, I want to play this clip first before we get there. So that was LSD. We talked about Quaaludes. Let's fast forward now. Now, if there's new drugs popping up on the scene every day. Now, this is very interesting drug. Listen to this clip. This is the world's scariest drug. This is a Vice clip.
Bogota, Colombia. We're here chasing after the most dangerous drug in the world, burundanga. Burundanga is the source of scopolamine, which is basically like the worst roofie you can ever imagine, times a million. You're at
the worst roofie, which Quaaludes was the predecessor to roofies. And then roofies, this is the roofies times a million. Let's go.
Roofie you can ever imagine, times a million. You're at the whim of suggestions like, hey, take me to your ATM. Hey, come with me to the hotel room, while you're completely conscious and articulate.
While you're completely conscious and articulate, this drug is crazy. It's crazy. You could be conscious, articulate, but under control of somebody else. This is the MK Ultra dream drug. You think they ain't got their hands on it? You saw what they just did with LSD when they found out it was happening. It was popping. They went out, bought out the whole stock. Let me get all that. Like I said, this is the speculation portion of the show. Let's go.
Apparently there's a lot of different parts of the plant that are a bit dangerous, possibly a bit fun, depending on what you're into. So we're going to be looking for the tree, talking to people who've had experience with it, and seeing if we can find some of the actual drug ourselves.
Something happened with the sound.
So the deal with Burundanga is that it pretty much eliminates...
Uh-oh, I might be getting too close. Let me reload that video. That one wouldn't even play no more. That's interesting. That never happened before.
To Bogota, Colombia. We're here chasing after the most dangerous drug in the world, Burundanga. Burundanga is the source of scopolamine, which is basically like the worst roofie you can ever imagine, times a million. You're at the whim of suggestions like, hey, take me to your ATM. Hey, come with me to the hotel room, while you're completely conscious and articulate. Apparently there's a lot of different parts of the plant that are a bit dangerous, possibly a bit fun, depending on what you're into. So we're going to be looking for the tree, talking to people who've had experience with it, and seeing if we can find some of the actual drug ourselves. So the deal with Burundanga is that it pretty much eliminates your free will. So you're awake and you're articulate, and to anyone else watching you, it seems like you're perfectly fine. But you've completely lost control of your own actions. So you're at the whim of suggestions, and that's how people take advantage of you.
Ain't that crazy? That's crazy. You could be up, like, look normal, like with alcohol or these other drugs, you would be slurred or, you know, could easily see that you're out of your mind. But not this. Like I said, this is just a little aside. I always like this show, but you know what I'm saying? Look, let's go into part 2 of it. It gets even crazier.
I've heard a bunch of different stories, really running the gamut. Some of them sound like kind of campfire horror stories you're told when you're growing up. Stuff like waking up in a bathtub with an organ cut out and a sign saying you have 5 hours to get to the hospital. We've of course also heard that it's used as a date rape drug. We heard one particularly chilling story where a guy was taken back to his apartment, woke up the next morning in the empty apartment, completely confused as to what happened, went down and said to his doorman, you know, why is my apartment empty? What happened? And the doorman said, well, you brought it out with 2 of your friends last night, all your stuff. You loaded it into a van. And the guy was like, why in the hell would you let me do that? And he was like, because you told me to. So that's kind of the stuff we're dealing with here. Complete elimination of free will while still acting, which is pretty much the scariest shit I can imagine.
That's crazy. Now, Davy Jones said it's a myth. Hold on, let me see. Not Davy Jones. Who said that? Who said that? Yeah, Davy Jones said it's a myth. They said the same thing about CIA creating LSD. Now, fast forward, we see that's not even, you know what I'm saying, not even questioned anymore. It's taken as pure fact. But I'm just saying, we say it becomes satanic through the association with Venus. Goggles, Davey, goggles. All right, let's see here. Let me see. Let me remove that. Now, which way we going? Which way we going? Let's see what we got left here. All right, we good on time? Now, you might say, Mo, man, you reaching big time. Why would the CIA want to use the Playboy magazine to push narratives, right? Well, why would they want to do that? Gloria Steinem, CIA agent, 17 magazine.
The festival, you worked for the Independent Research Service.
That's right.
Well, exactly when did your own association with the CIA start, and in what fashion? Did they come to you, or did you go to them?
In 1958, when I came home from India, I discussed with student leaders, past and present, many of them active with the National Student Association, this kind of small foundation to encourage Americans to go. They thought it was a good idea, too. I was then told by foundations and professors and friends that I should not do this, that I would get in trouble with the House Un-American Activities Committee, the American Legion, all of those 50s people. And I became convinced that it was impossible. It was at that point that the student leaders said to me that they had in the past received funds for international programs from the CIA, and that they felt that this was important and could also be partly funded.
Received funds from who? Let's back it up a little bit. Received funds from who? Oh, interesting.
International programs from the CIA, and that they felt that this was important and could also be partly funded by the CIA.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's listen to her second part of her clip. What they do is they come in and they realize, see, people underestimate the importance of magazines in this time because we don't really read magazines anymore. But at that time, books took so long to print. You know, it took a year or whatever. I mean, like to write and print. Magazines or periodicals, what they used to call them, where you had something every month or every week, whatever the subscription was, you could get ideas out faster, and they were targeted towards the younger crowd. See what I'm saying? So that's why they infiltrated magazines with these CIA operatives. But let's continue on. Let's let Gloria continue on.
Points of view to put forward, which would have been much, much more restricting than the CIA funds were, which were free. I mean, no one was told what to say.
You mean they were free? You mean to say it was easier for you to work for the CIA than a private organization?
That's right. And the reason I think that comes as a surprise, as it did to me at the time. I mean, I had the conventional liberals' view of the CIA as a right-wing incendiary group. And I was amazed to discover that this was far from the case, that they were.
Once again, people think the CIA is this stuffy suit, conservative group. Far from it. Not my words, Gloria words. Not my word, Gloria. She said she found it easy to work with them because they were far liberal than it was to work with corporate entities. Let her continue. Let's back it up a little bit and hear that again.
Group. And I was amazed to discover that this was far from the case, that they were enlightened, liberal, nonpartisan,
enlightened
activists of the sort who characterize.
Let's back that up one time. Let's back that up. Nonpartisan, enlightened liberals.
Liberal, nonpartisan activists of the sort who characterized the Kennedy administration, for instance.
Activists. Her words, not mine. All right. So now I know you're saying, Mo, where you going with this? Where we going? Where we going? All right, we're going to get there in a minute. We're going to get there in 1 minute. All right, so we done talked about CIA. We done talked about how they use drugs. We done talked about FBI investigating Bill Cosby since Richard Nixon's administration. He was on Richard Nixon's list, but at the same time, they was tapping his phones, but they caught none of this information about him sexually assaulting women, which I find very interesting because like I said, it was very well known amongst the comedian circles, and you heard D.L. Hughley say it, you heard Hannibal Buress say it, that it was very well known that he was doing these things, or allegedly doing these things, but the FBI tapping his phones didn't capture any of this, or did they, but they couldn't blow their, you know what I'm saying? One thing we got to understand, the FBI and the CIA are competitors to each other, because they all are fighting for the defense budget. Let me just clear that up for a minute. They're all fighting for the biggest budget in the world, which is the American defense budget. So they're constantly trying to undermine each other to show who's the better agency to get a bigger piece of the pie. Let me just clarify that for you right quick, so you understand why these two entities may have allegedly been going towards each other. Excuse me. So now with that said, let's get back to some clips. All right, that's Gloria. So you might say, "Oh, that's far-fetched. That sounds wild." All right, let's go. Have you ever heard of Bryce Taylor, aka the Real Long Kiss Goodnight? VHS style.
Now to a spy thriller unfolding in the heart of suburban Los Angeles. The CIA allegedly brainwashes a woman and turns her into a sex slave to the rich and famous.
Is this low? Y'all let me know if it's low. I'm gonna see if I can do something with the volume. I want to blow y'all out, but let me see if I can come up with the volume a little bit.
Does sound bizarre. Jody Baskerville is here there with this Unit 13 exclusive investigation.
Bryce Taylor used to be your typical soccer mom with a successful.
Hold on, let me see if I can come up on that volume. Look, y'all bear with me. Nah, cause I know the other clip was low, and I want people to catch on what's really going on. Let me back that up a little bit. You know, quality first. All right, here we go.
Now to a spy thriller unfolding in the heart of suburban Los Angeles. The CIA allegedly brainwashes a woman and turns her into a sex slave to the rich and famous.
It does sound bizarre. Jody Baskerville is here there with this Unit 13.
Bro, this the 13 news. This the local news. Like I said, we ain't going with no, you know what I'm saying, InfoWars. Shout out to Alex Jones. Much respect on his name. You know what I'm saying, for, you know what I'm saying, what he does, you know what I'm saying, but some people think he even compromised. I mean, think what you may, but he right about a lot of stuff. I mean, you gotta give credit where credit due if we're being objective. But this is the 13 news talking about this. Let's let them continue.
Out of suburban Los Angeles. The CIA allegedly brainwashes a woman and turns her into a sex slave to the rich and famous.
It does sound bizarre. Jody Baskerville is here there with this Unit 13 exclusive investigation.
Bryce Taylor used to be your typical soccer mom with a successful husband, 3 kids, and a beautiful home in the San Fernando Valley. That is until she started telling of a secret double life as a mind-controlled sex slave for the CIA.
I would have sex with him and deliver whatever messages that I was programmed to deliver.
Now, this one-time suburban housewife finds herself the unlikely leading lady in a real-life psychosexual spy thriller co-starring a former Los Angeles FBI chief.
Bryce Taylor is absolutely telling the truth.
A who? A who? A who? Hold on now. Hold on. Wait a minute. So we have a former FBI chief exposing a CIA operative. Well, using a CIA operative to expose them of their using her as a sex slave. How convenient is that? But real life is much stranger than fiction. Much stranger. Let's back that up again. Let's let that soak in for a minute. Yep, deeper pressure. Oops. Let's go.
Deliver whatever messages that I was programmed to deliver.
Now, this one-time suburban housewife finds herself the unlikely leading lady in a real-life psychosexual spy thriller co-starring a former Los Angeles FBI chief.
Bryce Taylor is absolutely telling the truth. I would stake my name and reputation of 50 years on it.
A UCLA professor of psychiatry.
I'm sure she has no evidence that the CIA really is doing this.
And
hold on. Let's see. Somebody said they ain't buying it. I don't buy it. Why use a suburban house mom with kids? I don't think she was talking about they used her when she had kids. If you ever seen the movie Long Kiss Goodnight, it was that she did the job beforehand, and then she was able to go on and live a normal, productive life. But I think she hit her head in a car wreck or something, and then her memory came back to her. So that's what they're alleging this happened the same way. But my point is more to the MK Ultra idea, not specifically her. And you might ask, why would they use humans? They use these humans as human safes to transfer information. So from my readings and studying, you couldn't trust things to be sent over wires or communicated in certain ways. So what you would do is you would take one of these women. This is just one of the ways they use them. Of course, they use them for information collection and things of that nature. But one of the biggest things they used was they would take the woman, give her a message when she's in a altered state. That's what they call DID, dissociative identity disorder. So they would use one of their alters, right? Plug in the message, then lock the message up by bringing up another alter. They would send that person wherever they would send them. Wherever they would send them, the person would have the key. That's why they call them key holders, to unlock that human safe to get the message. Let me explain that one more time. They would take a person. So say if you have a super important message to send, right? You would say, okay, get you in your altar, tell you the message, bring you back out of that altar, send you, this is why like even in during the World War II, some of these big time actresses came out to be found to use work for intelligence agencies. You get where you're going, the person would say the keyword, you would go back into the altar, you would give the message, sometimes you would bring a message back, and it was the safest way of passing information. See, what we have to do is, yeah, exactly, Bobby. It was handler with trigger words. It's just like a safe, but they were humans. And if you didn't have that keyword, you never could tap into that, right? Right, password lock, human thumb drives, exactly. Then, like I said, this is from my reading of verified information. I'm not reading some off the wall. This is literally from government hearings. Like I said, this guy here was a former FBI agent. Let's go though.
Crusading psychologist.
It's what you read about the Holocaust and what they did in the Nazi camps.
If Bryce Taylor's story sounds more like a movie than reality, well, maybe that's because it's awful close to the plot of Long Kiss Goodnight. Just like Gina Davis, Bryce is knocked unconscious in a near-fatal car accident that jolts loose suppressed memories of another life as a CIA operative, seducing the rich, the famous, and the powerful from Washington to Hollywood.
All of a sudden, I'm in bed with some, politician or different Hollywood actor or comedian.
And even American presidents.
My programmed assignment was to strip, to swim with the president, and then to have sex with him later on in the evening.
Have you ever considered the possibility that you're just crazy?
That's how they try to discredit people. You're just crazy. And like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg how this stuff works. And like I said, they make these movies about it. So when you hear about these stories, be like, oh man, that's what they do in the movies. No, they allegedly do this stuff in real life and then make the movies that cover up for it. To make you say that, oh, that's just in the movies. And we're seeing with the so-called alien revelations and UFO revelations now, right? It was like, that's just in the movie. But now look at all the stuff that we used to say was a conspiracy theory. Notice 20, 30 years later, they're just pulling the veil back on it. And that's the same thing they went through in this time. And no, this is 13 News. This is not some weirdo conspiracy channel. I always try to use, and I use this loosely, credible sources. What's up, Goldie, man? I ain't seen you in the live in a minute. Shout out. But yeah, this is what they do. All right, so we got like 10 minutes left. Let's go.
I absolutely thought I was crazy initially.
But now, more than 10 years and countless psychotherapy sessions later, Bryce and a band of supporters are convinced she was indeed the victim of covert CIA mind control experiments.
All right, let's go back and listen to what she just said again. They just validated some of what she was saying. Let's hear it one more time.
Swim with the president and then to have sex with him later on in the evening.
Have you ever considered the possibility that you're just crazy?
I absolutely thought I was crazy initially.
But now, more than 10 years and countless psychotherapy sessions later, Bryce and a band of supporters are convinced she was indeed the victim of covert CIA mind control experiments.
If Bryce was the only person who I had heard those stories from, then I would say, this has surely got to be crazy.
Dr. Pamela Monday, an Austin, Texas psychologist, says she is treating 60 other women telling the exact same story as
60 other women. Now, hold on, 100 Acre. I know you might be trolling, but we're going to believe 60 other women that come out against Cosby, but we won't believe 60 other women that this one psychiatrist has talked to. We ain't gonna believe them. I'm just asking the question. Let's back it up a little bit.
We got to be crazy.
Dr. Pamela Monday, an Austin, Texas psychologist, says she is treating 60 other women telling the exact same story as Bryce.
It is the worst abuse of human beings you could possibly imagine.
Then there's Ted Gunderson, a special agent in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles division until he retired in 1979.
Mind control has been in this country since the late 1940s.
Gunderson has obtained numerous declassified documents to support his claim, including a finding by a Senate investigation that the CIA has indeed conducted mind control experiments on unwitting American citizens.
Is that enough receipts for you? Is that enough receipts for you? Let's continue.
It's mind-boggling. I happen to have 2,200 plus pages of documentation of the mind control program.
Bryce alleges that she and her entire family were among the victims of that program, conducted at military bases and major hospitals across the country, including Los Angeles. Bryce claims that the UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute here in Los Angeles was used by CIA-controlled doctors as a chamber of horrors where both she and her father were subjected to diabolical mind control and brainwashing experiments.
Drugs, hypnosis, electroshock, torture.
And Bryce says it turned her into a mindless Stepford wife. A programmed sex toy who could be triggered into action by the CIA with subliminal messages embedded in her brain.
I was a human robot who had...
Let me stop for a minute. Hold on, say fun. I'll pause for a fun fact first. Fun fact. Moe Factz has us all under mind control right now. No, I don't. You have free will to leave at any time you want to, but make sure you leave a like. Woo! No, I'm just messing with you. No, but DID, you realize we have a potential what I think he's running for Senate. The dude down in Georgia, former football player. I know his name just declared they played for the Cowboys, got traded to Philadelphia for all the Cowboy players that they went on to win Super Bowl with. What is his name? What's the square-headed dude name? Y'all help me out. Herschel Walker. Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Yeah, Herschel Walker. He's a victim of DID. He says he has, I think, somewhere between 40 maybe up to 100 alters. Now he about to be a potential U.S. senator. Did y'all know that? Hold on. See, no. Oh, wait a minute. Let me finish this video. I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna look it up while we finish this video. Cause we're saying we got a few more minutes left.
I had no ability to think or question on my own. I could only follow commands.
Bryce, now 49, says she was just one of thousands of mind-controlled sex slaves known in the CIA as presidential models, programmed to seduce and gather intelligence from powerful men without ever remembering a thing about it.
I had no idea because I was programmed to consciously only know that I was, doing my motherly housewife duties.
Shoot, Bobby Raven.
Yes, it's strangely similar to another movie, The Manchurian Candidate.
There it is, Manchurian Candidate, another one. Yeah, he did MMA. He owned a chicken farm. He boxed. I think he owned. Here, hold on. How many more minutes we got left on this clip? All right. I'm gonna show you after this. Cause I pulled it up. It's the title of it says Herschel Walker reveals he suffers from multiple personality disorder or dissociative DID. The former Viking running back writes in his new book Breaking Free that he has dissociative identity disorder. All right, I'm gonna show you the receipts in just 1 second, but we gotta finish this.
How could they do this without anyone noticing?
My husband was also programmed.
And so were their children, Bryce says, including her beautiful young daughter, Kelly.
Sometimes we were even programmed to be a mother-daughter sex team.
Whether it's true or not, Bryce's story has had a tragic effect on her once happy family.
A mother-daughter sex team. Wow.
She and her husband are now divorced, and her 2 grown sons have virtually disowned her.
Well, my ex-husband and my sons think that I'm absolutely crazy.
Kelly was the only one who believed her mother's story and suffered a complete nervous breakdown over it.
Kelly actually made 2 suicide attempts.
And now at age 22, Kelly is in a catatonic state in a California mental hospital after being committed by a judge just last year.
My fear is that she will be harmed while she's in this institution.
Even Dr. John Hockman, an assistant professor of psychiatry at UCLA, doesn't doubt Bryce is convinced what she is saying is true.
She could be a great actress and just be scamming everybody. That's possible. But my take was that she believed what she was saying.
Including Bryce's claim that she was brainwashed by the CIA at Hockman's very hospital.
UCLA is the biggest hospital west of the Mississippi. So I don't know what's going on in every laboratory, every patient room, every closet, every corridor to corridor.
However, Dr. Hock...
I don't know what's going on in every room, every corridor, but it ain't going on here. Don't that sound familiar? It's a billion planets out there, you know what I'm saying? But I'm for sure there's no life on it. And like I said, I'm not a subscriber to extraterrestrials. I think there's something out there, beings, but that's interdimensional. But what I'm saying is the same narrative. You're uncertain. You're certain in your uncertainty. It's like, I don't know what's going on at the hospital, but ain't nothing fishy going on. Wait a minute. How can you be so certain when you're uncertain? But nobody asks these questions. Let's continue.
Suspects Bryce is not a victim of CIA mind control, but of a strange condition known as false memory syndrome, in which delusions are unwittingly reinforced and sometimes even implanted by psychotherapists themselves.
Oh, so they can implant false memories into your brain. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Many of the cases in recent years that have caused problems have been the result of psychotherapists. They didn't really understand the power of the techniques and the way techniques can make things go wrong.
We contacted 3 Los Angeles psychotherapists who treated Bryce, but all of them refused to discuss her case even with her permission. Pam Monday believes that's because they've already been threatened by the CIA.
There is no such thing as false memory syndrome. There's nothing in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that says there is such a thing.
In fact, Dr. Monday claims the condition...
Oh, so he just making up stuff. How convenient. I think it was the DS? She just said it. Let's run back. Because she said it's not in the... I think it's got the DS something 4.
Pam Monday believes that's because they've already been threatened by the CIA.
There is no such thing as false memory syndrome. There's nothing in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual.
Yeah, DSM, excuse me. Thank you, Lindsay.
that says there is such a thing.
In fact, Dr. Monday claims the condition was actually concocted by the CIA to cover up its mind control experiments.
Are you CIA?
As far as I know, I'm not CIA. Maybe they know I'm CIA.
What? What kind of answer is that? Are you CIA? As far as I know, I'm not CIA, but maybe I'm brainwashed. Who knows? And there's nothing going on in this hospital that I don't know everything that's going on in this hospital, but I'm certain that there's nothing like this going on at this hospital. Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
While Bryce Taylor remains convinced that her memories are tragically real.
I definitely believe this is still going on, and I believe it will continue to go on until it's exposed and stopped.
Bryce Taylor wrote about her alleged life as a CIA sex slave in vivid detail in a new book out called Thanks for the Memories. Believe it or not.
True or not, I feel so sorry for the daughter.
Isn't that awful?
She seems like the victim in all this.
Yeah. Catatonic state.
Oh,
a lot of questions still.
Thanks for that. Coming up next.
A lot of questions still. Yes. Okay, now let me go back to share this right quick. We're about to wrap up here. I got to share this. All right, Herschel Walker. And this is from 2008, March 2000. And there's a whole art, you can look on YouTube. There's a whole, I think it was 2020 episode about this. Herschel Walker reveals he suffers from multiple personality disorder. The former Viking running back writes in his new book, Breaking Free, that he has dissociative identity disorder. And that's what they call, that's what is alleged to be MK Ultra, where they dissociate you and they give you multiple ideas. You see what I'm saying? And he's about to be I think he's running, hold on, let me see. He's running for Senator of Georgia, I believe. Hold on. We're doing a live dive here, folks. Hold on. There it is. As Herschel Walker eyes Senate run, a turbulent past emerges. Let's see what they say about it. They cover position, his football, his business. Look, he's a business owner whose chicken products are distributed across America. He's a black conservative with backing from former President Trump, a longtime friend. But the Associated Press reviewed hundreds of pages of public records tied to Herschel Walker's business ventures and his divorce, including many not previously reported, sheds a new light on a turbulent personal history that could dog his Senate bid. Documents detail accusation of Herschel repeatedly threatening his ex-wife's life, exaggerate claims of financial success, alarm business associates with unprecedented behavior. And there it is, right there. Bam. Receipts. See, we do receipts over here. You know what I'm saying? We don't do that speculation. Walker, now 59, has at times been open about his long struggle with mental illness, writing at length in a 2008 book about being diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, once known as multiple personality disorder, but it's unclear how he would discuss these events as a candidate. So we have a possible senator that suffers from DID, and I'm not shaming anybody that has mental illness or struggle with mental illness. That's not my point. But who's to say he's not an asset? See, I don't do this political thing. I don't do this left-right thing. You see what I'm saying? I'm objective. Shout out to the hater. How is it that you can have somebody, and how did he get in the position he's in? Who say he's not a Manchurian candidate or has the possibility to be a Manchurian candidate? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Let's go back. All right, so now we have this. Now let's go back here. So this is the first article we had about LAPD searches Playboy Mansion for the alleged R word of a 15-year-old, right? Now peep this. This is where it gets spooky at. Let me see, make sure I ain't got no more clips left. Make sure the magazine empty. Let me see. Make sure the clip empty. The magazine empty. Let me see. Oh no, hold on. One more thing. Let me play this right quick and then we get into the final clip. Final article.
Be helped. Little knowing that Dr. Cameron's goal was to depattern them, to wipe out their memory.
Marlene Levinson is speaking out for the first time to shed light on one of the darkest chapters of Canadian history. Her aunt was a victim of Dr. Ewan Cameron's brainwashing experiments used right here in Montreal at the Allen Memorial Institute. Starting in the early 40s, Dr. Cameron used sleep-induced comas, massive doses of electroshock therapy, LSD, sensory deprivation, forcing patients to listen to hours of recorded messages on tapes. His goal? To control his patients' minds to cure mental illness.
No one signed to be experimented on. Nobody.
His controversial research caught the attention of the CIA in the 50s, eventually being funded as part of MK Ultra, a
This the father of MK Ultra right here, but see, he learned what he learned from the boys over there in Germany. You know who I'm talking about. I ain't gonna try to say their name because you know what I'm saying, I ain't trying to get that YouTube smoke. But y'all know who I'm talking about. But let's go.
Program the CIA developed during the Cold War to learn about mind control. The federal government also funded his work. Eventually, some of his patients from the 50s and 60s received some compensation from the CIA and the federal government. But
hold on. Why are they compensating people if they never did anything to them? Very interesting.
Marlene's family was told they didn't qualify because her aunt was a patient before the funding began.
That right away triggered.
Oh, you didn't get paid because before the funding began. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's how that works.
Anger in me and resentment. Why she refused? I want people to know that this was happening long before 1950.
Phyllis Goldberg was 19 when her uncle and sister admitted her to the Allen Memorial Institute. She was studying to be a nurse and started suffering from depression.
My uncle, especially being a physician, felt, wow, she's going to get the best care. She's going to see a world-class, up-and-coming, psychiatrist that's going to help her.
Instead, this is what she received. Her 1948 medical records show 9 electroshock treatments and 28 sleep-induced comas in less than a month.
She could not live a normal life. She could not get married. She could not have children. She was deprived of all those things. Her only pleasure in life was eating candy. She was reduced, like I said, down to a child.
Her condition continued to worsen after her release. By the age of 60, she could no longer speak or even move.
Catatonic. Where we hear that before?
She passed away at 86.
And every time I put my hand on her head, she would cringe. And I didn't understand until I realized because of the electric shock treatment that was put on their heads and for the deprivation, sensory deprivation, that she had to wear all these headphones.
The family has been searching for answers, unable to even access most of her medical records. Told by the Royal Victoria Hospital until recently that the records were impossible to find.
You become suspicious. Why can't you find these files? Why are they keeping them?
Tomorrow, a look at Marlene's decades-old fight to hold those responsible accountable for their actions.
I've tried to lay it to rest, but there's always something that comes back to remind me I can't stop.
For City News in Montreal, I'm Tina Teneriello.
Another local news story. No spooky conspiracy theories here. Now, let's go. Let me close that out and remove that. Let me stop sharing. Let me share this again. And we're about to wrap it up, folks. We're about to bring it on home. Y'all having fun tonight? I mean, does it work? Was it worth your time? Let's see. Let's go back to the first story. LAPD Daily News. LAPD will search Playboy Mansion over Cosby as alleged Alleged R, a 15-year-old, as Hugh Hefner distanced himself from former best buddy Bill. Okay, now watch this. Let's see here. Watch this. What is that? X. Okay. Where's it at? Look at that face. That face, boy, you can't trust it. No, 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 no. What is it? Hold on. I got so much going on here. Oh, is it in this one? Oh, yeah, it was this one. Hold on. Boom. All right, so going back to the story here of Paige Young. The person giving the Myers quickly retreated to her apartment. The one that witnessed the suicide, right? Myers, 66, now a Hollywood astrologer who runs a firm called Astrology. Ran from the room and shot past the line, past the line of cops behind her. So we're gonna look into Miss Myers and her site called Astrology. Bam. Here we go. Astrology, celebrity predictions that rock. And when I came over to this site, I started scrolling down. Interesting. Simone Biles is the GOAT for having a tantrum. Very interesting. I'm keep strolling. Strolling. Yep. Vex. Well, yep. She provides her opinion on that. Bam. Well, looky here. Bill Cosby proves the power of Jupiter. Say that again. Bill Cosby proves the power of Jupiter. Now, you know I had to click on that article. And let's zoom on in here a little bit. Let's get a little bit of this Bill Cosby Jupiter action. Yep. She said, even I, at times, doubted astrology. And then this happens. Bill has been released from prison where he had a 30-year conviction for sexual molestation. He's no less guilty, but there is a technicality in the law that overturned his sentence. Or is it the law? Or is it the power of the universe? Let's explore the possibilities that this has everything to do with astrology. And while you might be saying he had the money to hire lawyers to look for the loophole, it was no loophole. I digress. A reasonable thing to say, without the right energy on his side, he still wouldn't be free. Let's read that again. Without the right energy on his side, he still wouldn't be free. Right. New Age is all get out. Let's go. Bill Cosby is a Cancer sun, Mercury, Pluto. So Scorpio is an influence here. His moon is in the benign Virgo. His Venus is in cold Gemini. I don't know what none of this means, so y'all gotta help me out with astrology. I don't really dig into that. His Venus in cold Gemini and Scorpio shows signs in Mars. This is not a particularly bad position, except that it is Scorpio, and all the sexual deviation is ruled the Pluto Scorpio 8th house. Not the worst chart I've seen, but honestly, the lies and the selfishness shows up more in his numerology. Well, Aries rising, there is that. Also too much mother. And this translates often to homosexuality or just sexual perversion. A sexual connection to the mother being very inappropriate. The aspect in astrology is his natal Neptune square his natal Venus. I don't know what none of this means. The definition, sex is dirty. Maybe that's why he had to have people asleep when he did it. I'm just asking. The native may project personal values onto others and likes to force his morality on others. And that's what Bill did, right? He would shake his finger at people and tell them how good he was while he was being accused of things. And that's the thing that D.L. Hughley brought up in the clip on 65. Go back and listen to Disco Biscuits. This is the good boy who goes around killing the painted girls. Astrological insight into personality. So you go on, see here, and what happens today. Bill just came out of a devastating aspect. Predictive Mars square, predictive Saturn is over in its place. The blessed predictive, and it goes on. And she says, as much as man thinks he's in control of his destiny, and of course he is, real power is found in the angles of your astrology chart, blah, 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 and it goes on. But I'm just saying, it's just mighty convenient that the woman that took part in this, what I would say, ritual killing, goes on to be into astrology itself. So, very interesting. But I'll go back to say once again, I find it convenient that they blame Bill Cosby even for this suicide of this poor woman, a victim of what that could be debated, but clearly a victim. She set up a whole scene, a ritualistic killing. This guy right here on the right, all over the wall, and this story is written like he is the source of the suicide. And with that said, hopefully you find the trip down the rabbit hole was very interesting, and the need for this further, just another level to the rabbit hole. Jay says, Mo, the rabbit hole stuff you got into in episode 65 was something else. It was something else. And like I said, this is just the surface. This is just the surface. I don't believe in astrology. These people do. You feel what I'm saying? These ritualistic, convenient being on Palm Sunday. I'm sure Palm Sunday means something in astrological terms. It just found it very convenient, all of these, scenarios and all these things that are convenient. And then it says right here, the lady that killed herself was a painter for a living. Painting for a living is a struggle. I have to work at it. And then you go back here, it says, what? About the painted lady. Like I said, that might be a Space Jam reach, but I just found that to very be what she said. This is the good old boy who goes around killing the painted girls. And you can see that as makeup as well. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Y'all let me know in the live chat, did y'all enjoy this? It's something that we should do for other episodes. Hopefully, like I said, the plan is that we record every other Wednesday. And then on the alternate Wednesdays, we do a deeper dive into, just another level. And like I said, we can't squeeze it all in. But I hope that, like I said, some of us are into more the the exoteric. The esoteric more than the esoteric. So with that said, it went a little bit longer than expected. It seemed like you enjoyed yourself. I don't know if I enjoyed it yet. You have to give me a brief synopsis on what I missed, where you can always go back and watch the replay. And if you didn't see episode 65, please go back and watch it. And if you did, and you, since you're over here on the YouTube side and you watch this elsewhere, please go leave a like and a share and a comment, because that helps spread the word to other people. Yeah. And like Jay says, and donate if you can, folks. Can't wait for episode 66. I'm cooking up 66 as we speak, and it should be out Wednesday. This coming Wednesday. Once again, this is a value for value production. Please visit mofactz.com or mofundme.com and go donate via Cash App, PayPal, or paper check. And if there's any other way that you can, if you would like to donate but it's not available, let me know and I'll look into doing that. With that says, as I always say, pay attention to everything and the truth will reveal itself. Good night.